Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Just a short video today bringing you the latest from the front line in Donbas. May the 5th today has been an incredibly heavy day with shelling up and down the line, and I've just received some videos and some photos from some trusted sources on the ground there, and I want to share with you what's been happening because, like I say, it's been an incredibly heavy day and unfortunately has led to a civilian casualty. So let's have a quick look at what's been happening. So we'll start with the location of today's events. As you can see, we've got our front line and contact line here. And the heaviest shelling has actually been in Vodian, heaviest in terms of shells. This has been the 152mm shells, which we talked about in yesterday's video. But certainly the most devastating has been happening further up north along the line. Now, this is the town of Marinka, one of the outskirts of Donetsk, as you can see, not far at all from Donetsk. And this town sees quite a lot of fighting. There's a bit of confusion here between the contact line and the proximity, and the actual no man's land is incredibly short. So we do see a lot of skirmishes here. But what I want to talk about mostly today is what's been happening in this town here. So this is the town of Krasnohorivka, which is somewhat close to the front line. And unfortunately today, the civilian hospital of the town here has been bombed. And that has resulted in a civilian casualty. Now, as I understand it, there were 45 patients inside. And there has been quite a bit of damage done to the hospital and its infrastructure. There has been some ambulances which have taken damage, and the power to the hospital has been cut, which is obviously causing even more hardship on those who have managed to escape the blast, because now this town is pretty much, and for the next few days, will be without a functioning hospital. And let me tell you, the people in this town have it hard enough as it is. Now, before we look at some of the footage and the videos, let's just take a look at the distance here, because you've seen my little lines here. This is the contact line where we can, with our best estimation, guess that engagements are happening. And this hospital is 1.9 kilometers, almost 2 kilometers away from that. So it's incredibly hard to believe that this has been a massive oversight, especially when we've got artillery coming from here. Now, I know this was 120mm. It's not the same mortars that we were seeing yesterday, but obviously it's still enough to do a hell of a lot of damage. And I can't really imagine why they would be aiming for this hospital, but I can't see how they could be so poorly aimed as to not be. Aiming for this town, it's despicable, in my opinion. It's civilians who are here. This isn't a military hospital. It's not a valid war target. And the fact that it's come under attack, in my eyes and in the international community's eyes, is a war crime. And I know that not much of the media in the world outside will really give two shits about this, because now that they think Russia's backed off, they can't care less about what's happening in Ukraine. So I wanted to make this video to show you what's been happening, because this is happening, as I said, today on the ground. And I can't really believe with good intention that a shell could be off by 2 kilometers. That's just incredibly suspicious to me. Now, let's take a look at some of the photos. And I will warn you, I mean, you're on a war channel, but the last photo might be distressing to some people. But I mean, you watch these videos because you're interested in war, so I'm sure a lot of you have got the stomach for it. So as we can see here, this is the damage done to the external of the hospital. We've got windows blown out. They're in the process of being boarded up because the DSNS had arrived by the time my source did, and they're there to secure the building and to start making vital repairs, because this is a hospital. This can't just sit there unrepaired. They need this building. It's probably the most important one in the town, which unfortunately is why it probably was a target. So as we go about it, we can see there's been a lot of damage to the front, a lot of trees, which are obviously less important, but look at all this glass blown out. This is patients' rooms. These are where people are trying to rest and recuperate. I can't imagine how terrifying it must be to be in hospital and then wake up with a bloody shell going off 5 meters away from you. Now, if we look at the exterior, we can see the marks where fragments of shell have come in, shrapnel, and we can see that the DSNS arrived and started to repair the damage. Now, These are the ambulances. As you can see, there's 2 ambulances, I believe, that have been taken out of commission as a result of this. And this town isn't really big enough to be sparing many more than a few ambulances. And as you can see here, this is also by the DSNS. We've got today's date with some of the damage and implications on direction. Now, this next image might be a bit troublesome for some people, but this is the casualty who was taken away from the hospital. And of course, that's an incredibly sad thing. People go to hospital to recuperate. You don't want to become a victim of a war crime there. So, of course, we're very sorry to have seen this because, it's just not fair. What's happening to the people in Ukraine really isn't fair at the moment. I do have some footage to show you. A lot of this was taken when the DSNS had arrived, so they're scrambling really fast to repair the damage here. As you can see, the boards are starting to go up. And this is some of the damage to the internal of the hospital, all being observed. And you can hear the drilling in the background as the repairs are being made. And again, there's more shots of the shrapnel, which have flown inside patients' rooms. The windows have been put out from the velocity of the blast. And I think really we're kind of lucky that there was only 1 casualty, because this had the proximity to be so much worse. I always get particularly annoyed when we see things like this, because I just want to ask, when is the West going to do something about this? When did we become so weak or stop caring? Or do we just feel that our hands are tied? But this situation is completely unsustainable. This just isn't fair to the tens of thousands of people who are living up and down the contact line, living in poverty, living in fear for their lives. It's just no life at all. It's no existence. And I can't see how we in good faith can just stand by and watch this happen. And this is happening up and down the contact line. There's been a massive spike in artillery, in drone attacks in the last few months, and I think it's only going to get worse. So I'm really making these videos just to highlight what's happening here. Now, G7 foreign ministers are meeting in London this week, and they're going to be discussing Russia, discussing more sanctions, and seeing what they can do to rectify the situation. But I doubt they will go far enough. In fact, I don't doubt it. I know for a fact they won't. And this incredibly bleak existence for the citizens of Donbas is just going to continue. And I want to get as much coverage and as much information about it. I want to shout out loud about what's happening here, because it's just not fair. People living in poverty, people having their life taken from them when they go to visit hospitals in what really does look like quite a deliberate act of malicious intent. It's really not fair, and I just wanted to make this video to share with you what's been happening. We will, of course, be keeping an eye on anything which happens up and down the front line, and I want to say a big thank you to the sources on the ground in Ukraine who shared this footage with me. I really appreciate it. I know they want this story out there as much as I do. So I am putting a call out because I know a lot of the viewers that I have on this channel are based in Ukraine. So if you've got anything you want to share, please do send me the clips to the email address below and I will look into them. I would try and verify them, and I can start to get more stories like this told. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. I will let you know what's been happening, if there's any repercussions from this, although I very much doubt it. Take care, and I will see you soon.